My wife told the doctor I was dying. Then she signed the insurance claim, in front of me. I wasn't unconscious. I wasn't confused. I was sitting right there, listening to her describe my final stage. She never once looked at me. Only at the payout amount. That's when I understood. She wasn't reporting a condition. She was activating a policy. Within hours, my accounts were locked. My access revoked. My signature flagged as unreliable. My stepson took my phone. Said it was for my protection. Then I saw the medical report. Terminal condition. Cognitive failure. Immediate supervision required. Every word, false. But signed. Stamped. Already processed. And once the claim is active, you're not a person anymore. You're a payout. I didn't argue. I let them take control. Because I needed proof. My name is Daniel Carter. And I used to own the company. That pays out those claims. The first sign wasn't the report. It was the dosage. I found it that night. In the kitchen. Next to my usual medication organizer. Everything looked normal. Same bottles. Same labels. But the pills felt different. Slightly larger. Smoother coating. I didn't take them. Instead, I walked back to my study. And pulled up the manufacturer database. Same name. Different code. Not my medication. Stronger. Sedative class. Slow acting. Designed to impair focus. Memory. Decision making. Not enough to knock someone out. Just enough, to make them look confused. I sat there for a long time. Then I checked the refill history. 3 extra prescriptions. All signed under my name. I never requested them. But they were processed. Approved. Dispensed. Legally. That's when the pattern started forming. Medical report. Cognitive decline. Restricted access. And now, medication that creates symptoms. Not illness. Evidence. I heard footsteps behind me. My stepson. He leaned against the doorframe. Watching me. You should be resting, he said. Calm. Too calm. His eyes moved to the pills in my hand. For a second. Just a second. His expression changed. Not concern. Calculation. I closed the browser. Just checking something, I said. He stepped closer. Slow. Controlled. You've been forgetting things, he added. Mom's worried. Mom. Not your wife. Not even her name. That told me everything. They were already aligned. I nodded. Played along. Maybe I did forget, I said quietly. He relaxed. Just a little. Enough to confirm it. That night, I didn't sleep. I replaced the pills in the organizer. Left everything exactly as they expected. Then I installed a second layer of monitoring. On the house network. Hidden. Separate from the main system. If they were building a case, I needed to see how. And more importantly, who else was involved. Because this wasn't panic. This was structure. And structures leave traces. By morning, the house felt different. Quieter. Not peaceful. Controlled. I tested the pills first. I crushed one. Dissolved it in water. Ran a quick reagent check. Benzodiazepine derivative. High dose. Not prescribed to me. But logged under my name. I didn't confront anyone. I needed more. So I did something simple. I skipped the dose. An hour later, my wife walked in. "Did you take your medication?" she asked. "Too fast. Too precise." I nodded. She watched me longer than necessary. Then she smiled. Relief. Not concern. That was the second sign. I moved to finances next. My main account required dual confirmation. New policy. Temporary, according to the message. Approved by my stepson. He didn't have that authority. Not without documentation. I checked the authorization logs. There it was. My signature. Digitally verified. Timestamped at 2:14 a.m. I was asleep at 2:14 a.m. And I never signed digitally. Not after a breach years ago. I zoomed in on the file. Perfect replication. Except for one thing. They used my old signature format. Outdated. 3 years behind. They didn't know I changed it. That meant something important. They had access to old records. Not current ones. Their system was incomplete. Good. I opened the insurance dashboard next. My policy had been moved to active review. Trigger, terminal condition filing. Filed by my wife. Supported by medical documentation. Fast-tracked. Too fast. Normal review takes weeks. This was moving in hours. Someone inside was pushing it. I checked the adjuster ID. New name. No history in the system. No internal references. That wasn't a coincidence. That was insertion. I leaned back in my chair. Now it was clear. Medication. Medical report. Financial control. Insurance trigger. 4 separate systems. All aligned. All moving at the same time. That doesn't happen naturally. That's coordination. I heard the front door open. Voices. My wife. My stepson. And someone else. A man. I muted my screen. And walked toward the hallway. They didn't expect me. I stopped just before the corner. "He won't last long like this," the man said. Clinical tone. Detached. My wife answered. "We just need a few more days." Days. Not recovery. Timeline. My stepson spoke next. "The bank is already in motion. Once the payout clears, everything resets." Resets. That word stayed with me. I stepped into the hallway. All 3 turned. The man froze first. Suit. No badge. But he carried himself like authority. My wife recovered quickly. "Oh," she said softly. "You're up." Too smooth. Too prepared. I looked at the man. "Doctor?" I asked. He hesitated. Half a second. Then nodded. That half-second told me everything. He wasn't a doctor. He was part of the process. I smiled faintly. "Good," I said. I was starting to feel better. Silence. Not relief. Tension. Because, better. Was not part of their plan. I didn't argue. I didn't accuse. I watched. Because now I knew one thing for certain. This wasn't suspicion anymore. This was execution. I returned to my office. And closed the door quietly. Then I opened a system. No one else knew still existed. An internal audit archive. Old infrastructure. Isolated. Untouched. I built it years ago. After a fraud case nearly destroyed a partner firm. Hidden logs. Independent tracking. Things even administrators couldn't erase. If someone was manipulating my case, it would be there. I pulled the medical file first. The diagnosis: terminal neurological decline. Aggressive progression. Signed. Stamped. Approved. Accept. The hospital ID didn't match any real facility. I checked the registry. Nothing. Fake institution. Cleanly fabricated. Professional. That wasn't amateur work. That was coordinated fraud. I moved to the doctor's license. The name matched a real person. But the license number. Revoked 2 years ago. Medical fraud. Stripped credentials. Disappeared from practice. And now suddenly. He was in my hallway. Standing in my house. Speaking about my timeline. That was confirmation. Not doubt. Not theory. Fact. I exhaled slowly. Then opened the insurance trail. This part mattered most. Because this was the endgame. Everything pointed here. Claim initiation. Medical submission. Fast-track authorization. Preliminary approval window. 48 hours. Impossible under normal conditions. Unless someone flagged it internally. I dug deeper. And then I saw it. A secondary policy layer. Attached recently. Quiet edition. Buried under amendments. Not visible in standard view. But visible here. My wife's name. Primary claimant. Full transfer of benefits. Company shares tied to payout. Control clause included. If claim approved. She wouldn't just get the money. She'd get everything. The business. The board leverage. My position. Erased. Replaced. I leaned back. So that was the plan. Not just to kill me slowly. To erase me legally. Clean. Documented. Irreversible. I checked the authorization. Who approved the amendment? My name again. Digitally signed. Time-stamped. Another night. Another moment I never lived. They weren't just forging documents. They were building a version of me. One that agreed. One that surrendered. I stared at the screen. Calm. Because panic would mean they still had control. And they didn't. Not anymore. I opened one final file. The contingency clause. The one I wrote years ago. And never told anyone about. Because I've seen this before. Different people. Different method. Same greed. The clause was simple. Invisible unless triggered. If a claim is filed. Based on medical fraud. All benefits freeze. Then redirect. Not to the claimant. Not to the estate. To a designated investigative trust. Independent. Aggressive. Unforgiving. And the claimant. Becomes the subject. Not the beneficiary. I checked the status. Still inactive. Because the system needed proof. Hard proof. Not suspicion. Not logic. Evidence. And now. I had it. Fake diagnosis. Revoked doctor. Forged signatures. Unauthorized financial control. And most importantly. Intent. I stood up slowly. For the first time since this began. I wasn't reacting. I was ahead. I looked at the door. At the people outside it. My wife. My stepson. Their doctor. They thought they were days away. From everything. They had no idea. They were hours away. From losing all of it. I walked into the living room. Without making a sound. They didn't notice at first. Too focused. Too relaxed. That was the first thing that hit me. They weren't nervous anymore. They were waiting. Waiting for me to disappear. My wife was sitting on the couch. Calm. Phone in her hand. Scrolling. Like this was just another evening. My stepson stood near the window. Talking quietly. Numbers. Percentages. Timelines. Not about me. About what comes after. I stayed in the doorway. And listened. Once it clears, we move everything, he said. Accounts first. Then the board. My wife nodded. No hesitation. No doubt. Like they'd already done it. Like I was already gone. He won't fight it, she said. Her voice was steady. Cold. He doesn't even understand what's happening anymore. I felt something shift inside me. Not anger. Not yet. Something heavier. Final. My stepson laughed. Short. Dismissive. He never understood anything, he said. And now he's finally useful. Useful. That word stayed. Because it explained everything. Not husband. Not father. Asset. Resource. Payout. I stepped forward. The floor creaked. They turned. Both of them. Surprised. But only for a second. Then my wife smiled. Soft. Careful. The same smile she used. When speaking to the doctor. You shouldn't be up, she said. Concern. Perfectly measured. Rehearsed. I looked at her. Really looked. And for the first time. I couldn't find anything familiar. Not a trace. How long? I asked. She tilted her head. Like she didn't understand. How long have you been planning this? Silence. Just a second. Then she exhaled. And something changed. The mask didn't slip. It disappeared. You weren't supposed to hear that, she said. No denial. No apology. Just inconvenience. My stepson stepped closer. Confident now. No need to pretend. It doesn't matter, he said. It's already done. I watched them. Both of them. Standing together. Aligned. No cracks. No hesitation. Family. Just not mine. You signed everything, my wife added. Her voice almost gentle. We made sure of it. There it was. Not even hiding it. Not even trying. I felt the anger now. But it was quiet. Controlled. Like pressure under glass. You drugged me, I said. She didn't answer. She didn't need to. Her silence confirmed it. Every missed memory. Every blank moment. Every signature I didn't remember. Not illness. Engineering. My stepson crossed his arms. You were already fading, he said. We just helped it along. Helped. I nodded slowly. Let the words settle. Because once they were spoken, there was no going back. No misunderstanding. No doubt. Just truth. Ugly. Clean. Final. And the policy? I asked. My wife smiled again. This time. Proud. That was the smart part, she said. We didn't just wait. We built the outcome. She stepped closer. Close enough to touch. But I didn't move. You taught me everything, she said quietly. How systems work. How people hide things. How to stay calm when it matters. She looked into my eyes. And for a moment, I saw it. Not guilt. Not regret. Respect. For the plan. Not for me. You should be proud, she added. That was the moment. Not the drugs. Not the signatures. Not even the fraud. That. The way she said it. Like this was a success. Like I was part of it. I looked at her hand. The ring I gave her. Still there. Same place. Different meaning. I said. And they both paused. Because that wasn't the answer they expected. I'm proud, I repeated. That you finally showed me who you are. Silence. Real this time. No script. No control. Just a fraction of uncertainty. And that was enough. Because now, they weren't ahead anymore. They had revealed everything. Every step. Every intention. No turning back. Not for them. Not for me. I stepped back. Slow. Measured. And for the first time, they watched me. Like they didn't understand what I was about to do next. I didn't argue. I didn't threaten. I nodded once. And walked away. That confused them more than anything. Because people who are losing fight. They didn't see a fight. They saw acceptance. That was the mistake I needed. I went back to my office. And closed the door. Locked. Not out of fear. Out of precision. Every move from now on had to be exact. No noise. No emotion. Just structure. I sat down. And opened the system again. Not the audit archive. Something deeper. My private insurance override panel. Not public. Not visible to agents. Designed for one purpose. Control when things go wrong. I entered the credentials. Then the second layer. Then the third. Each step quiet. Each step deliberate. Access granted. I didn't rush. Because rushing is how people make mistakes. And I couldn't afford a single one. First. I duplicated the entire claim file. Every document. Every signature. Every timestamp. Then I created a mirror trail. Hidden. Time-locked. If anything changed, the system would record it automatically. They could delete. Edit. Rewrite. But they couldn't erase what I captured. Second. I triggered a silent flag. Internal. Invisible to standard users. The system now marked the claim as under verification. But only in the back end. To them, everything would look normal. Processing. Advancing. Approaching payout. To me, the clock had started. Third. I opened the contingency clause. The one they didn't know existed. I didn't activate it. Not yet. Too early. Without full evidence. It would fail. And I'd lose everything. Instead, I prepared it. Linked every file. Every inconsistency. Every forged element. Built the case inside the system. Piece by piece. Clean. Unbreakable. Then I leaned back. And listened. Footsteps outside the door. Quiet voices. They were talking again. Lower now. More careful. But still confident. Because as far as they knew, nothing had changed. That was the advantage. Control without visibility. I stood up. And opened the cabinet behind me. Inside. Files no one had seen in years. Old investigations. Fraud patterns. Case structures. I pulled one folder out. Then another. Not because I needed information. Because I needed alignment. Patterns repeat. People don't change. Only methods do. And this. This was textbook. Greed. Access. Control. Execution. But they missed one variable. Me. I returned to the desk. And picked up my phone. No contacts. No calls. Just one number. Stored under no name. I pressed it. It rang once. Twice. Then. A voice. Calm. Professional. You don't call unless it's serious. I have a live case, I said. Pause. Then. How bad? Internal fraud, I replied. Medical. Financial. Identity manipulation. Another pause. Longer this time. Then. Do you have proof? I looked at the screen. At the files. At the structure I had just built. Yes, I said quietly. I have everything. Good, the voice replied. What do you need? I didn't hesitate. Timing, I said. I need them to believe they've already won. Silence. Then. I understand. The line went dead. No questions. No doubts. Just execution. I placed the phone down. And exhaled slowly. Everything was in motion now. Not visible. Not loud. But irreversible. I walked to the door. And opened it. They were still there. My wife looked up. Studied my face. Searching for something. Fear. Confusion. Weakness. She didn't find it. Everything okay? She asked. Soft. Careful. Perfect. I nodded. Calm. Controlled. Better than ever, I said. And that was the truth. Because for the first time since this began, I wasn't inside their plan anymore. They were inside mine. And they didn't even know it. It started the next morning. Quiet. Like everything else. My wife was already on the phone. When I entered the kitchen. Voice low. Controlled. But I caught one word. Delay. She ended the call. The moment she saw me. Smiled. Too quickly. Insurance is slower than expected, she said. There it was. The first crack. I poured coffee. Didn't react. Didn't ask. Because questions would mean I didn't already know. And I did. The silent flag had activated overnight. Not visible to her. But effective. Every step of her claim. Slowed. Paused. Rechecked. Invisible resistance. I sat across from her. Calm. Watched her hands. Slight tension. Micro-movements. She was feeling it. Good. My stepson walked in. Phone already in his hand. Something's wrong, he said immediately. No greeting. No mask. He looked at her. Not me. Transfer didn't go through. She frowned. That's impossible. No, he said. It's blocked. Blocked. Another word. Another fracture. I took a sip of coffee. Slow. Measured. Like none of it concerned me. Maybe you should check the documents again, I said. Casual. Almost helpful. They both looked at me. Too long. Trying to read something. Anything. But I gave them nothing. Just calm. Just stillness. That unsettled them more than anger ever could. My wife stood up. Already dialing. Walking away. Voice rising this time. Not controlled anymore. I stayed seated. Because now. They were reacting. And I wasn't done. I returned to my office. And opened the system. Real-time logs. Every move they made. Visible. Every call. Every access attempt. Tracked. My wife tried to push the claim forward. Priority escalation. Denied. No explanation. My stepson tried to access the accounts. Limited. Permissions reduced. Temporary. But enough. Confusion was building. Pressure follows confusion. And pressure breaks people. I opened the contingency panel. Hovered over the activation. Not yet. Still too early. They needed to struggle first. To push harder. To expose more. I closed it. And moved to the next phase. External pressure. The number I called yesterday. They had already started. I saw it in the system. An external audit request. Anonymous. Targeted. Precise. Focused on one thing. Medical validation. That would hit first. Because once the diagnosis collapses, everything collapses. I stood up. And walked back into the hallway. Voices. Louder now. Sharp. Fractured. You told me it was clean, my stepson snapped. It is clean, she fired back. Then why are they asking questions? Silence. Then. They shouldn't even be looking at it yet. There it was. Fear. Not full. But growing. I stepped into the room. They stopped immediately. Turned. Too fast. Too tense. What's going on? I asked. Simple. Neutral. My wife forced a smile. Nothing you need to worry about. Of course. Because I was supposed to be dying. Not listening. Not thinking. Not watching. I nodded. Walked past them. Gave them my back. And that. That was the moment they started losing control. Because predators don't panic. When the prey runs. They panic. When it doesn't. When it stands still. When it watches. When it waits. I reached the door. And paused. Just long enough. Then said quietly. Strange how systems work, isn't it? No accusation. No explanation. Just a sentence. I didn't turn around. But I heard it. Silence. Heavy. Uncomfortable. Then. Movement. Fast. Uneven. They were thinking now. Recalculating. Doubting. Good. I returned to my office. And closed the door again. Locked. This time. Not for preparation. For execution. I sat down. And opened the final screen. The contingency trigger. Everything was ready. Evidence linked. Audit active. Pressure applied. All variables aligned. Now. It was just timing. I checked the system one last time. And then I saw it. The confirmation request. From the insurance corps. They were trying one last push. Manual override. High-risk authorization. If approved, they could still win. If denied, it would expose everything. I leaned forward. Calm. Focused. And whispered. Now. Then pressed the key. Activation. Silent. Immediate. Irreversible. And somewhere. In a system they trusted. Their entire plan started collapsing. The system didn't react loudly. No alarms. No warnings. Just a quiet shift. Their claim froze. Then reversed. Funds locked. Accounts flagged. Access restricted. My wife stared at her screen. Clicked. Refreshed. Again. Nothing moved. My stepson tried his phone. Then the laptop. Then both. Faster each time. Why is everything locked, he said. No one answered. Because there was nothing left to say. The call came minutes later. Not to me. To her. Speaker on. She didn't notice. Your claim is under investigation, the voice said. Medical fraud. Document falsification. Identity misuse. Silence. Then. All associated assets are now frozen pending review. Her hand shook. Just slightly. Enough. I stepped forward. Calm. Controlled. And for the first time. They looked at me like they understood. Not everything. But enough. You built a perfect plan, I said quietly. No mistakes. No gaps. I paused. Let it settle. You just forgot one thing. They didn't speak. They didn't move. You taught me to stay calm, I continued. To watch systems. To wait. A small breath. Then. I did. My wife's eyes changed. Not fear. Not yet. Realization. Slow. Heavy. Irreversible. My stepson stepped back. Just one step. But it was enough. Because now. They weren't standing together anymore. I looked at them both. Not with anger. Not with regret. Just clarity. It's all recorded, I said. Every step. Every signature. Every lie. No threats. No raised voice. Just facts. That's all it ever takes. I turned away. Walked to the door. And stopped. Some plans don't fail, I added quietly. They collapse. I opened the door. Light from the hallway fell across the room. Behind me. Silence. Heavy. Final. I stepped out. And didn't look back. Thank you for listening. Calm justice doesn't shout. It keeps records.